So, Juliana, I want to welcome you to the Convert with Confidence Summit, where we're here to learn about how to really show up with confidence. And I think that's that word. I think so many people have different definitions of confidence and what it really like. How do I do it? How do I even begin to do it? So, Juliana is the founder and CEO of the Revelation Navigation, where she helps entrepreneurs and high performers align their subconscious with their highest goals. Awesome. I'm already excited. And she's worked with over 500 clients in her healing work. Julie, can you first tell us what motivates you to do the work that you do?
At the core of it is freedom. I'm super motivated by helping people experience more freedom, whether it's freedom to show up on video with and not be overwhelmed, or freedom to confront certain issues in our lives and relationships or business. I love like unlocking the doors so they can walk into that, because that's where it started for me. I needed more freedom. I was trying to do it all in my head, muscle through it, read one more self-development book. But I found out a lot of freedom can be had from addressing subconscious issues.
Yep. And I'm sure you're speaking the language of everybody watching here. I mean, who here isn't doing meditations, listening to YouTube videos, reading books, listening to, I can think of all of the tools and breathing techniques and visualizations, but things are not really sticking.
Mm-hmm. Right? Exactly. That's where I was. I'd done all the audiobooks, the mantras, you've got the Post-its all over your mirror. And it wasn't an embodiment though. It wasn't an energetic shift. And I didn't want to go down the subconscious route, because that's like woo-woo stuff. Like,
yeah,
I want to figure it out. I can do this. But we're being driven by like 98% of our drive of what's leading our lives is our subconscious. So
yeah,
going
yep.
there.
Yeah. So for this audience, I think this word subconscious may seem a bit abstract, and also energy as well. Juliana, can you talk a little bit about what exactly, when you say energy, what are you referring to, and how can we tap into the energy, let's say we're in right now?
That's a great question, because you hear this all the time, right? Energy. Yes. And everything is energy. When we start to really look at it and think about it, every single thing is energy. But let's just liken it to a song. Well, if we listen to certain music, let's say we're listening to classical music, what energy is transfusing for you? Like, is it a sense of peace? Is it a sense of calm or focus? What are you sensing as you listen to that, versus, let's say, something else? Like for me, I don't like death metal. The moment I hear that, I'm like, turn it off. I don't resonate with that. And I just, so adverse to that energy. That is a very clear energy, is when we're with music. But the truth is, we are the generator of the energy. We are like little radio stations sending out a signal to every person around us, whether we like it or not. It's a subconscious thing, and it does come from even our inherited patterns. We can be sending out a certain vibe that is like, hey, yes, I'm trustworthy. I'd love to work with you. I've got everything organized and ready to host you. Or I'm actually in chaos. I'm really insecure. I'm hopeful that somehow this will work out.
Mm-hmm.
People can pick up on this subconsciously. So how we know, like you said, with energy, how do you know where your energy's at? You have to look around and see what's showing up in your life. Yeah, I hated this, right? When I first heard this concept, like, I don't want what's showing up in my life. I was Uber driving at the time, and I couldn't get out of that cycle. I was determined to launch a business, but over here, just, secretly, I'm getting by doing Uber, which is a great place to be if anybody has been there. But it was subconscious blocks. And I could see, well, this is what's manifesting in my life. Like, I'm in a rut here energetically. And we have to, I think, start by seeing our energy, taking responsibility for our energy.
Yeah.
What is we're attracting, saying, oh, it's not all them and it's not all that situation, but why is this being magnetized into my life? And then you're like, oh, okay, that energy's clear. Well, I don't want that energy. So I've got to start to shift something in myself. So I'm not sending out that vibe.
Yeah, it's like, I think this is where a blind spot for a lot of, especially coaches and consultants. And it's interesting. I was trying to talk about this with a client a couple of weeks ago, and I had to get out a board and like draw it out. I was like, look, there's this thing called confidence, and then there's this thing called anxiety. And then I listed a bunch of traits of a confident person, and it traits a bunch of anxious people, or an anxious person. And we all kind of can pick that up consciously and unconsciously, right? Like we know that person appears confident, or I feel like I can trust them. But beyond the things you're doing is like all of that equals a vibe, right?
Yeah.
You're sending out a vibe based on, not just the things you're doing, but what's coming from our feelings.
Yes.
Right. And that can come from our actions, that were things that we're doing. Right.
It's true. It permeates every part of our life. And we can be in denial of this. I was just like, I'll figure something else out. But I needed to go down this rabbit hole. I needed to start addressing my subconscious blocks, the autopilot places where I would self-sabotage or avoid or just blame others. That's another way that we avoid the things that really we get to take responsibility for, and then start to undress and unpack those things.
Yeah, I can think of, especially the theme of the summit being convert with confidence. Maybe if you're here, you're probably wanting to feel more confident on sales calls. And I know even that word sales, people can kind of start to feel like, oh, like I dread those sales calls. But are you in a place where are you blaming your clients for the results you're getting, or are you looking at how you can be different or more effective, or how you can come off in a different way? And that's when things I know really started to change for me personally. It was like, hang on a second, how am I showing up? And I think this is a really good reason to record your Zoom calls, consultations, or phone calls, right?
Exactly. Greater levels of accountability. What am I bringing? And there's something about playing ourselves back and be like, oh, wow, she starts to hide at this point, or her voice just dropped. Where'd she go? Like, it is so key to take that responsibility, both, yes, of course, for your clients. We can't control, what's showing up in their lives at all. We can just hold that space and really bring our best selves to the table, to keep doing, of course, the work. Embodying our message is another point of, I think, congruence, and where people sense our confidence is when we're in alignment with what we're talking about, versus like hopeful, wishful, like, oh, I neglect me every week, but I love to talk about self-care. We've all been there.
That's where like imposter syndrome comes from, right? It's like, you're like, maybe you're asking for, maybe your rates, like you're asking for $6,000 package or $10,000 package, but you're like, you don't feel worth it.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. And we have got to start to shift into those places of truly being worth it, when we own all of who we are and we start to address the subconscious. There's lots of lovely techniques of how we can literally, easily, non-invasively release negative energies to help we consciously we're headed this way, but our subconscious can be going the
yeah. Yeah.
That's where it is this extreme, and we're like, why isn't it working? Well, this, let's say, child version of you, or your 10-year-old self is still screaming and wants to go hide in a closet.
Yeah. Or yeah, there's a fear of being seen or heard, right?
Mhm.
Like maybe you feel like, I know for me, it was like when I was a child, I was taught that I was not allowed to say no and that I was better off being quiet. And so we feel like bad or we
Yeah.
feel guilty even around charging for what we really deep down feel like we're worth. So there's this like inner conflict of like, wait a minute, I'm not going to serve for less than this amount of money, but how come I can't ask for it? How come I cave? Maybe when it comes to that moment when you're like, here's my, my rate is $997 a month or $1997 a month or $599 $5997 a month, right? Are you one of these coaches who you lose your congruency under that pressure?
Yes. Yes. And I do think it's worth we're different ways of doing the work, but even some mirror work. Like, can you say it to the mirror, holding your own eye contact, saying your prices, or saying, exactly who you are and what you stand for. It's worth doing the inner work so that in the moment, on the fly, whenever, the confidence is already there, that we're in that place of a lot of confidence, I think, comes from I love and like myself. Like, and I like all parts. I respect this woman at every age. I've, done the inner work so that I'm not still self-sabotaging from inner unforgiveness or inner, conflict that keeps, unfortunately, radiating out when we want to be headed this direction.
Yeah, think about it. If you're feeling insecure on that sales call, like how do you think it's going to go? How do you think your prospect's going to feel, right? There's these thing called mirror neurons that our bodies are picking up what may be going on with someone else. And like, I don't know, I think a powerful question for me that helped me on like be more effective on a sales call was like, how do I want my client to feel?
Yes.
When I'm talking to them, what do I want them to perceive about me or to feel about me? Right.
Mm-hmm. Those are great questions. And then before that sales call, how do you get yourself into that state? I'm all about altering your state. And at first it may feel like totally opposites. Let's say you're not in that congruence, but you can get yourself into a more positive state before the call, confidence, like there's lots of lovely techniques, but feeling the feeling in yourself at your core, feeling maybe the last time you felt super confident or felt clear and secure, to get that into your being, and then we can invite people into it. I love the phrase, people step into the atmosphere you carry. And this is true.
Wow.
Whether it's at a grocery store, just checking out, and are you, creating conflict or something? Or are you on a sales call? In every area, we get to own our atmosphere.
Yeah. Can you share, like, is there one simple tip that this audience can start to use? Like, let's imagine like this group here, or some coaches in this group are like, I got a sales call right after this, or I got a whole lineup of calls coming up later this week. Like, what's something maybe they can change today to help them get them into that state? I know you mentioned getting into that state, but how can we even start to do that?
Yeah, I've got two techniques. One is starting by being honest with what's happening in my body. And that is literally releasing a trapped emotion, releasing something that's coming to the surface. So if you are feeling anxiety every time before a call, take a moment to, I am feeling anxiety, admit it to yourself. And then just as if it's a ball of energy, you can imagine, and now I'm releasing that. And you can work with the electromagnetic fields of your body. It may feel strange at first, but you can swipe your head, which is literally the main meridian, governing meridian, going over top of the head, down the spine, and take a deep breath. Release that anxiety.
Yeah, I felt tingling in my scalp. That's so cool.
Funny? And we've been releasing trapped emotions throughout our life. The most obvious one with babies, when we're soothing a baby, running our hand down their spine, or anyone else, they're overcome with emotion, we'll start to rub their back. We're literally working with their governing meridian to help the emotional state move along out of their body. We can do that with ourselves, and it's worth slowing down, checking in what emotion is at the top right now, and then intentionally, okay, I'm releasing disappointment, I'm releasing fear, whatever that is, with a deep breath, because our breath will keep all this in chaos. If we're like, or we're not breathing, yeah, obviously we're going to be pushing down the trapped emotions. But if we keep our breath moving, we'll be able to literally release the energy, and it can change your state.
Yeah.
So
it's super,
yeah.
super powerful. Like if you're going through call after call, I remember I being just stuck in a series of sales calls, and people were like, oh, it's too expensive, or let me check. And I remember when I think back, it's like, I was in a place of like, I don't know if I want to do this. Like I was uncomfortable with the sale. So how can you start to be more comfortable with the sale? Or again, what like we were talking about, like, what do you need to change? I know this was a great question for me, is like, what about me needs to change so I am that $10,000 coach or that $20,000 coach? Like what is the gap there? And then things started clicking. I was like, oh, I need to, yeah, like you said, take care of myself more. If I'm going to preach self-care, I better be not a fraud.
Yes, exactly. And there can be that gap between where we are and then where we want to be. That $10,000 coach, we have to see her first, though. We have to be able to visualize her. What's she wearing? How does she sound when she's talking? What vehicle is she driving? The more we can like paint this picture of our superhero self, the clearer we're going to see that difference. And then also ask those questions. What energies are keeping me stuck, and then just energetically release it. But also getting into that state, you don't have to wait to be her or him. You don't have to wait until the stuff shows up. Feel those feelings now. When we get into, that's another great way to get into state, that powerful state before a call, is to really feel like your superhero self. She's charged. She has no doubts. She's not the least bit afraid to say her price. In fact, she's going to be raising him soon, and this feels like an old price, that 10,000 mark. And to come with that energy to a call, but it does, again, it takes that full responsibility of I get to own this energy before I ever get on the call, and I can also change that. I'm owning the fact that I'm a powerful person. We're all helping people get out of victimhood, and we get to learn this in greater measure ourselves. That I can do this.
Yeah, I love that technique, if you want to call it, or strategy, where you start to really build out the detail. Like you said, paint that picture of what exactly do you look like when you are that 2015. It's exciting to do. I already know, I can already hear some people watching now, like probably rolling their eyes, or how does looking at a picture help me start to bring in money? And, is this law of attraction, and does this really work? So Juliana, what message do you have about, like, can you briefly talk about like how law of attraction really works in, doing visualizations or using our senses to build out our dreams?
And that's the thing. It is a law. It's a like universal law. We can like it, love it, avoid it, say it's woo-woo, but it's still gonna happen in our lives. It's like gravity. Another way to say it is like we're all magnets, and what we are being is creating a magnetic force for what's showing up in our lives. So therefore, if we don't like it, we get to change what's going on here through different ways. So that magnetic force, yes, it's going to be bringing the ideal clients, or it's going to be pushing them away. It's going to be helping you shift into a higher like confident state, or it's going to be keeping you right where you're at, or even like getting more and more discouraged. But we get to like redirect that energy. We can do that. Yes, mentally, but it's more than that. It's emotions. That's where we really embody it. That's where the part that people start to say woo woo is because yes, you need to feel it. You need to feel how those clothes would feel. You need to feel how she would walk, how she would talk. That's part of the getting into state. That therefore, when we're resonating with that frequency, with that energy, again, we're sending this music out to the world. We want to be sending out the right vibe. Then we can't help but be magnets for those people in those situations. It's again, it's law, but and I think the sooner we own this and the sooner we implement these things in general ways into our lives, into our business, the sooner we get to see it work in our favor versus against us.
And plus we're polarizing our ideal clients and we're pushing away our not ideal clients. Like I just literally got off a consultation, and this would have been a good old client. Like, she came to me for smoking cessation as a hypnotist. And, I went down my typical route and I said all my normal things. And then in the end, she talked herself out of it. And I could hear it. And I even pointed it out, right? Like I wasn't going to let her just like not know that. I was like, look, here's what's going on, right? Like being super direct, right? Look what's going on. You're continuing to shop around. And I can tell you, and for those of you watching can steal this, the people who get the best, most powerful results from me are quick action takers. They don't need to spend the next week shopping around. They know when they're new, they know one thing, they're ready. And two, they just need to hear the right words and feel good and feel confident about it and feel safe about moving forward. And once you have those two things, it's like a no-brainer. But I could feel her energy. It was coming and then it started going like this. And I was like, no amount of me, trying to convince her or any of that is going to do it. So instead of, I left her with like, look, I'm going to wish you the best shopping around. And of course she chuckled. And I was like, I'm absolutely ready when you are, right? And it's instead of going into anxiety and people pleasing, because I know a large portion of this audience, they're people pleasers. So there's a tendency to bend over backwards to try and get a customer, right? There, you can feel, when you start to pay attention, you can feel people coming and going and letting that happen organically, right?
Yes. And we get to shift into that resonance of, I'm not going to chase everybody.
Yeah.
When we're in that place of confidence, we can say things like that. Well, good luck, shopping all around and happily, gently show them the door, because how they're showing up now, like you said, if they're barely making a decision now, let's see how that works when they're actually working with you. You do. I'm with you. I want to get those clients that are ready to go, because then we get to see more effectiveness. But it starts here, releasing that old stuff, old patterns.
So are you, for those of you watching, you are attracting, and I think that's what they mean by you're attracting who you are. I mean, I think that's such a kind of a simple way to say it. I think you're attracting the energy that you're putting out, and it's either going to keep coming or it's going to move away, right? But in the end, you people stay who feel that like this is safe, this is familiar, and it's a high enough priority in their life as well. There's like a lot of moving pieces here.
Exactly. And that's where we get to, we're owning it on all facets in our emails, in our YouTube videos or something. I was just thinking, as you're talking about, lately I'm having more and more clients show up that are like, I've watched all your stuff, I trust you. Like they were ready to go because I've been very proactively showing up on these different platforms to share, in a sense, my energy. But when we are back and forth, that's exactly what we're putting out, and that's what we get back.
Yeah. So. And I know we don't have a whole lot of time here, but I'm sure some of this audience, I can already hear questions popping up like, okay, well, hang on. When I am like, if I need to be more myself, authentic, my authentic self is anxious. My authentic self is not confident. And so how can we start to show up authentic, but also in a way that's confident? I know this is a huge block for so many.
It's a great question, because that's true. Like, maybe authentically you're genuinely anxious. I think part of it is, yes, you could show up in that authenticity, or will we take responsibility to say, this isn't my highest or best self, like, and radiating that, getting connected to that higher self, or that better version of yourself, and saying, well, she's calm and collected. How can I narrow that gap? And there's different ways, like we've talked about a few techniques. I love hitting it head on with subconscious things like hypnosis, like what I'm doing with the emotion code, literally finding and releasing specific energies. But it does come from the full responsibility to become our most authentic self. And to also, at times we do it in our weakness or in our vulnerability. People don't want us to be perfect either. None of us go through life with zero anxiety. We can diminish that. So that's another point of relatability, though. We'll just say that no one wants you to show up as perfect. It's okay to occasionally let that show to people. Yeah, I was dealing with some anxiety the other day, and be honest along the way, because that's part of our collective connection as humans. Is, oh, they're a human too. I can relax. I can trust them too.
Yep. Yeah, perfect. I don't think perfect sells at all. And I think one of the most powerful things you can do is tell a story, and maybe not even about you, right? Because the call, in this case, a consultation is not about you, but you can certainly share, I was working with a client last week with this exact same thing. So yeah, you're not alone. And I know, right? I know it's hard and it's scary. And usually I think what we're really doing here, as especially if you're a healer and you're a coach, is you're really helping them calm their nervous system. That's what it's really about here, is their nervous system's like, hey, alarm bells going off, price is high, or it's a big commitment, or it's a long program, or who is this person? And it's your job as the leader or the coach to help them, like, with that, oh, it's safe, right?
Yes. And essentially you could say they're buying your energy field.
Yeah, I love it. Love it.
I mean, think of any coach we've ever spent top dollar for, or we bought into the essence, that frequency that they're putting out. We're like, we don't even understand their sales jargon. We're like, I don't know, they're going to do this, and this. People often don't care that much. That's ticking the logical boxes in their head. But the other aspect is, can I trust? Can I lean into this? Am I safe? Like you said, am I secure with this person? Will I feel secure? And that's what we buy. I'm like, that's where we're like, here's all my money. I want more of that,
Wow, I just had like a light bulb. That was, what an insight. They're buying our energy. And when I think back to the coaches I've hired, I'm like, that's exactly it. Think about, for those of you watching, why did you hire? Why did you buy into those programs? There you go. Right.
Exactly. And every time it's been, like most of the time I've bought has been, I don't even understand all they're selling, but I just want that. I want to show up that way. I want to feel that way. And we get to embody it. We get to feel that feeling now, so that our clients can come into this place. I often think of even my own energy field. Is there a red carpet out? I almost like picture, they're going to come into my experience. Is it going to feel like a cozy house? Is it going to feel where they can like take their shoes off or relax or be their genuine self? Mm-hmm. Or am I in such a formal place that they need to, have it all together, or that sort of thing? So we get to create that space for them to be at peace and to receive a new frequency shift.
Yeah, I love it. This is all the reasons why you're struggling with sales. I'm telling you, if you're not paying attention to these subconscious cues, especially we tend to buy what feels right, right? Other than
Yeah.
what we need. I mean, need is one thing, but to feel safe to invest is going to be a little different. Like we can go to the store because we need some milk, and that's just like rapid fire. But when it comes to a bigger investment, more skin in the game, especially if you're doing high ticket sales, then it's going to require a feeling of safety as
Mhm.
well with the investment.
Yes, absolutely. And then that up leveling, that person's where I'd like to be. And that I love that when we really tap into this, we get to be ourselves fully. Like
Yeah.
I'm no longer in comparison. In essence, they're going to buy my energy. It's not if I keep trying to mimic someone else, if I keep trying to be, oh, they said I should do this, should do this, should do this in my business. I can get so wrapped up in that that I don't actually show up as me. And
Yeah.
the more we own the fullness of who we are, the more we show up in that, then people can more clearly see who we are and buy into that and work with us.
Yeah. Wow. I know we could talk all day about this, but to honor everybody's time here and yours, Juliana, I know you have a free gift to help this audience kick off their journey as well with their emotions and tapping into your own subconscious and your own energy fields called the Emotion Code. Can you tell us more about that, Juliana?
Yes. So I have a 15-minute like mini session where we can get together and we will literally release some trapped emotions for whatever issue is most pressing for you, where you'd like to see breakthrough. Let's just release some old trapped emotions, maybe even some generational ones. And let's see what can show up just from getting rid of the old energy and and to me, it's like getting rid of resistance. Like when there's no more resistance, oh my gosh, I'm not even like having that trigger. It's so freeing.
Yeah. And so much can happen. I know I've done energy work with someone. It can take mere seconds or
It
just
can.
minutes. It doesn't have to. I know we've been taught this type of work takes months or years. That's not the type of work we're talking about here. We're talking about subconscious work that things can shift within seconds. So just a 15-minute session with Julian, I have no idea how much transformation would happen, but I would certainly be excited for anybody here who signed up. So go click the link below to sign up, get 15 minutes of Juliana's time. Like it's free 15 minutes. I don't know if she's going to offer this again. So this
Yeah.
is a summit special, I'm
I,
assuming.
I really don't do free offers. This is a rare occasion. So,
Yeah.
but I did want to serve your audience. I'm so grateful to connect with everyone here because your time is so valuable and we will do the best we can to get maximum benefit in that 15 minutes.
It's
All about it.
awesome. This is so exciting. So click the link below to go book your free 15 minutes. Go release some of this emotional baggage that maybe feel like you're just lugging up a hill. You know, maybe you've been lugging it your whole life. So click the link below, go book your free 15 minutes with Juliana. And Juliana, thank you so much for your time and of course for your energy here on the Convert with Confidence Summit.
Thank you, Lydia. So grateful to be here. Thanks.
Thank you.